Part 50. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 495. 489. The most suitable one is the most European one. You still have another chance to draw a lottery. Do you want to draw a lottery? Smack it? Do it now. Chen Yuyan waved his hand. Immediately, countless images flashed before his eyes. The speed was so fast that he was dizzy. Afterwards, the images changed more and more slowly and less, and Chen Yuyan could even see a very familiar plane from Star Wars. It's the TIE fighter that the villain drives. Could it be that today is the Star Wars special? If it's a TIE fighter, don't look at it as extremely weak in Star Wars, but in the present, it is absolutely invincible. Chen Yuyan stared at the pattern of the TIE fighter, and kept muttering, "The TIE fighter! The TIE fighter! The TIE fighter! The TIE fighter!" Finally, the images stopped on the TIE fighter. Chen Yuyan's heart was about to jump out. Is it really here? Is the TIE fighter really coming? However, in the next second, the image jumped again, and ended up freezing on another item. Chen Yuyan almost collapsed to the ground. He took a closer look. It was an image of a blueprint, and it seemed to be an airplane. It's technology. The sense of loss that he didn't get the TIE fighter disappeared immediately, and Chen Yuyan hurriedly wanted to ask what it was. You know, this may be the technology of an aircraft. Before he could open his mouth, the system explained, "Congratulations on your incomplete technology, AV-49, Vespa VTOL fighter. This technology is currently equivalent to level 4. Chen Yuyan was taken aback for a moment, and asked, "What do you mean by incomplete technology?" This technology lacks energy shield components and nerve control interface components, so it does not have the above two functions. If the technology is drawn again, it can be completed. However, considering the probability of drawing the same technology, it is recommended that the scientific research department of the host organization complete it by itself. But it still works, right? It can be used, but the driver can only operate it manually and lacks energy shield protection, so the combat capability will drop a lot. This doesn't exist. It's enough to be usable. Ha 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 ha. This is called OU. Ha 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 ha. Giving a high-grade product that doesn't work is better than giving me a low-grade product that is the most suitable. Even if it is a defective product, it's alright. Chen Yuyan jumped up in high spirits. It's like when you play a game, you just reach the bottleneck of level 30. When you reach the full level of 100, you can't beat monsters, and the upgrade speed is slow. So at this time, should I give you a level 99 golden legendary equipment, or should I give you a level 30 purple epic equipment? Moreover, these equipment are still bound and cannot be sold. So the answer must be the latter. In this state, if you slowly get to level 99, maybe you won't be able to continue playing before you reach level 60. It's better to quickly get a piece of equipment that can be used now, improve the current combat effectiveness, and break through the current bottleneck. In short, let's talk about it first. We'll discuss things later. May I ask whether to start researching the technology of the AV-49 WASP? Stop talking. Hurry up and study. Hurry up and study. Chen Yuyan said loudly, and then began to carefully check the data of this AV-49 Vespa VTOL fighter. This technology belongs to a technology tree called UNSC, but Chen Yuyan doesn't know what kind of thing this UNSC is, but in short, it seems that the abbreviations are very powerful organizations. AV-49 WASP VTOL fighter. Manufacturing conditions, Level 6, Manufacturing Center, Level 4 in the disabled state. Manufacturing resources, 1 ton of metal, 500 kilograms of low-purity liquid tiberium. Manufacturing time, 480 minutes. Function, it adopts double-boost duct turbine engines, can take off and land vertically, and can also hover freely in the air and perform low-altitude tasks. The forward propulsion engine adopts air-cooled vector propellers, with a maximum speed of 500 km per hour, and can perform air combat missions to a certain extent. In addition, it has a photonic intelligent data link avionics system, which can maximize the combat capability of the aircraft. Equipped with two M247H Air Force machine guns and two Type 2 guided rocket launchers. Remarks: this aircraft was originally developed and manufactured as a low-profile, high-speed version of the AV-14 Wasp aircraft. It has been criticized for its weak protection. There is no energy shield now, which makes it an air coffin that can be penetrated by light weapons. There is also a long list of performance data below. Chen Yuyan has seen so many data of various weapons, and now he is considered a half-expert. In his eyes, even if this AV-49 fighter does not have an energy shield, its performance is enough to hit any armed helicopter in the 21st century, even a supersonic fighter. Although it is only 500 km per hour, the speed is about Mach 0.4, but this kind of aircraft is flexible in steering, and can turn 360 degrees on the spot and roll at will. Moreover, the avionics system of the interstellar era can easily lock any air-to-air missile in the world, and then intercept it. So even if you fight against a supersonic fighter, you won't be at a big disadvantage. The most important thing is that this is a VTOL fighter, that is, a vertical takeoff and landing fighter. What's really scary is that it only takes 2 minutes to take off from a standstill. This means that the AV-49 Wasp fighter plane can transition and attack in a very short time, and it will never be destroyed at the airport. The addition of such a powerful fighter almost made Chen Yuyan burst into tears. He finally didn't have to stare at helicopters like the Mi-24 Hind that were about to be eliminated. In this way, even now, he can establish a three-dimensional air force with AV-49 Wasp fighter planes for cover and support, Mi-24 Hind helicopters for ground attack, and bird helicopters for ground power projection. During the research and development of technology, the upgrade of the Red Queen was also completed. The holographic projection of the little red loli appeared in front of Chen Yuyan. "Master, my host has been upgraded." Owner: "Very well, what functions have you added after the upgrade?" Chen Yuyan asked. "Master, after the upgrade, I added the neuron data network function. Hosts in different regions can share data, and the more hosts there are, the more complex tasks can be done at the same time. Even if the host in some places is in a paralyzed state, other hosts can also replace the work of this host through the remote network owner. In other words, all the Red Queens form a whole." "Master, we can act as a whole or as independent individuals. And because of this, we can better command the drones in the base." Owner: "Does that mean that the Red Queen's mainframe in one area is disrupted by the ion storm and shut down, so the Red Queen's mainframe in other areas can take over the command here?" "Master, it is theoretically possible, but the interference caused by the ion storm is too strong, and it is hard to say how much work can be done." Owner: "Well, this is good news. Now I will arrange a new task for you." "Master, please speak, Master." "Gather a group of worker ant drones, go to the ruins in the south of the ruined city, and open up a large area centered on the stronghold of the Junkrat gang. I will use it as an airport. And I will also use the newly acquired the subsidiary manufacturing station was built there." Chen Yuyan said. "Master, this is a huge project. The ruins in the south of the city are basically covered by building debris. According to the scan, the ruin layer is at least 7 meters thick. Junkrat gang's former stronghold has not been dug into the ground either. So to clear it out as an airport, more robots are needed." Owner: "It doesn't matter, first clear a piece of land and build an auxiliary manufacturing station. After that, this auxiliary manufacturing station will be dedicated to this work, and random arrangements such as building a robot factory. In short, I want to see this airport within a month. In addition, you can check the data of our main fighter, the AV-49 Wasp, and arrange our airport layout according to the performance of this aircraft. Master, I understand. A month later, you'll see an airport where AV-49 Vespas can take off and land. Owner. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 496. 490 Development of the Ruined City, Part 1. A peaceful month passed quickly. During this time, Chunyuan had been busy with various constructions. Now the ruined army and the ruined city have undergone earth-shaking changes. The first is the robotics aspect. Now the number of synthetic humans and robots in the ruined city has increased tremendously. There are already 3 universal robot factories in operation, and a steady stream of robots are coming off the production line. Coupled with the special robot production lines built before, the daily output of robots is now almost 200 units. The robots used for city construction are mainly NS-4 civilian robots, Mr. Handy, and protector robots loaded with different systems. Among them, the expandability of the protector robot is very good. Chunyuan studied the required models of construction, combat, firefighting, and nurse. More than 2,000 of this kind of cheap and plentiful robot have been manufactured. Among them, the construction robot can perform some simple labor on the construction site, and can easily complete bricklaying and the like. Needless to say, the firefighter type, the nurse type mainly works in the hospital, helping patients change their medicines, anesthesia, and so on is still okay. Combat protector droids have boosted the power of their lasguns to lethal levels, and are primarily used for work on the mine's frontier and the realms of Hammertown. Coupled with a large number of NS-4 civilian robots, at least 2/3 of the labor force in the construction of the ruined city is now completed by robots. Professional combat robots are also being built. In terms of technology research and development, in addition to turret robots, assembly robots, and tank robots, Chunyuan has also researched level 4 technology Iron Guard robots and Raider robots. In addition, tank robots have also been developed to a very high level. Powerful cyber class. However, if these robots are used for combat, their functions are somewhat single, so they are mainly used as auxiliary units. For example, cyber-class tank robots can be used as powerful avant-garde troops, Iron Guard robots equipped with powerful firepower can be used as firepower platforms, and agile and extremely fast Raider robots can be used as battlefield vanguards. But none of these can replace the core role of infantry on the battlefield, because these robots can be said to be elite units, but more core units are needed to fill the battlefield space. Moreover, Chunyuan is now taking the high-end route in the manufacture of robots rather than the quantity first. On the one hand, the production capacity has not increased, and on the other hand, it is because of the existence of the ion storm that the robots have many disadvantages on the battlefield. Certainty. The second is the synthetic aspect. The synth settlements are not yet complete, so the third generation of synths has not come from the world of Fallout 4 to the world of Command and Conquer. However, a large number of other synthesizers have come to join the army of ruins. Of course, these synthetics are all second-generation synthetics, and they are all covered with simple plastic shells, clearly distinguishing them from humans. The production line of the second-generation synthetics has been increased to 5 seats, and the second-generation synthetics are continuously produced. These synths have a very good IQ level, and they are added to the army in large numbers, especially to drive various vehicles. At present, there are 400 second-generation synthetics in the Ruin Legion, and this number is still increasing. The second generation of synths has the ability to learn, and some programs can be preloaded. So after inputting the driving programs of the corresponding vehicles to these second-generation synthetics, Chunyuan let them go to the actual machine operation training to accumulate experience. Among them, some second-generation synthetic humans are also used for urban construction. Compared with the NS-4 civilian robot, The second generation synthetic humans are much weaker, but smarter, and can be said to complement each other. The first generation of synthetic humans are also in use, after all, it is a cheaper labor force. However, these first generation synths basically dealt with some odd jobs. Then the third is urban construction. The residential area of the ruined city is still in the process of continuous expansion. With the addition of a large number of robot laborers, a complete town has initially been formed. Now the three villages have been connected together, but relatively speaking, Beatty village has built more residential areas, where a large number of people live. The various constructions of Xingfu village are more perfect, and the commercial area and agricultural area have also developed greatly. It can be said that the economy is the most developed. Then there is Muhi village, which is the most backward. This is the place where relatively peripheral people live. Such class divisions are formed naturally and are inevitable in the development of human society. At present, there is no such thing as a village. At the suggestion of Gen Yu, who was in charge of internal affairs for Qinyuan, this area of residence was uniformly named Qinbei District, because it was located to the north of the ruined city. Now the number of residents in Qinbei District has increased to about 8,000, many of whom are scavengers and homeless people, as well as family members of college scientists that Qinyuan brought over from the world of Fallout 4. Then the former Hammer Town was being rebuilt after being blown up by the invaders from Torch City, but the direction of the reconstruction was in the direction of a fortress. After all, Iron Hammer Town can be said to be the gateway to the west of the ruined city. The largest road leading to the outside of the city is in Iron Hammer Town. If you want to enter the city from other places, there is basically no access. The defensive force deployed in Iron Hammer Town has been maintained at around 300 for a long time, and Qinyuan also equipped them with a lot of artillery, tanks, and other equipment. The largest barracks in the ruined city is still at the Black Wolf base. But now with the continuous development of the base construction, the Black Wolf base has begun to be divided into two parts. The first part is the former stronghold of the Black Wolf tribe. From here, the ruins have been cleared and expanded to the north, and it has become the current station of the Ruins Legion. Soldiers' training grounds, dormitories, canteens, gymnasiums and other facilities are all here. The second part is the south direction of the Black Wolf tribe. It used to be a ruin, but now it has been cleared out by worker ant drones. It can be said that it has become the industrial center of the ruined city. Various production lines, including productive buildings such as the Universal Robot Factory, are built here, and new robots and equipment can be seen coming off the production line almost every day, and then transported to various parts of the city. The fourth is the ruins in the south of the city. This place is still the area Qinyuan used to place a large number of B.O.Ws. Almost all of his B.O.Ws are placed in this place with complex terrain. Now in almost every corner of the ruins in the south of the city, you can see the figures of Hunter Alpha, Zombie Dog Note 1, and Liquor. In recent days, some tyrants have also appeared here. However, Qinyuan's current core direction is not B.O.W, but mechanical manufacturing, so there are no new types. In front of these elusive B.O.Ws, the ruins in the south of the city have long become a symbol of death. Almost every day you can see the corpses of scavengers or people with ulterior motives being carried away by worker ant drones. Anyway, few people who appeared in the ruins in the south of the city were innocent, because there were no resources or items here at all, so those who came here were either stupid or bad, and it didn't matter what kind of killing they did. Surrounded by BOW, a small airport was sorted out by a large number of worker ant drones. This airport is small in size and has no runway, but many takeoff and landing platforms have been built for AV-49 Hornet fighters to take off and land. It is precisely because of this that many camouflage methods are used at the airport. If it is not for low-altitude reconnaissance, it is impossible to tell that this is an airport at high altitude. In this way, With the super high mobility of the AV-49 Wasp, this secret airport will become a nightmare for all enemies. Note 1, the official name is Cerberus, which I used before. However, some readers suggested that this name may conflict with the real Cerberus dog, which is true after thinking about it, so it will be called Zombie Dog in the future. Thank you for the 1000 starting coins rewarded by Star Sea Rangers. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 497. 491 Development of the Ruined City, Part 2. And the last and most important thing is the military power building of the ruined city. The ruined city still maintains 1,000 human soldiers, but because it has gone through a round of survival of the fittest and the improvement of residents' lives, the quality of soldiers has also improved a lot. Anyway, under Jinshan's continuous training, the previous situation of fooling around is no longer there. However, the 3-level grading system established by Qinyuan was still retained, but the equipment allocated was much better. Reserve soldiers are still equipped with Scorpion Eye assault rifles, wearing wear-resistant combat uniforms, Kevlar helmets, and gas masks. Qinyuan also reverse-engineered all these individual equipment, and as a result, he also obtained a production line of primary individual equipment, but it was only a level 1 building, so there was no need to say more. The second-class soldiers are selected by the reserve soldiers, and their physical fitness, combat attitude, and skills can at least reach the level of the regular army. The equipment of these soldiers has also been upgraded a notch, equipped with bulletproof vests, Kevlar helmets, gas masks, and most importantly, their main weapon is the M4101 pulse rifle. The privates are the elites in the army. They all use the best equipment. The combat uniforms are also made of Umbrella's biomaterials, which do not affect their actions and can effectively defend against damage from small pieces of shrapnel. In addition, advanced equipment, including power armor, will be given priority to first-class soldiers. And to become a first-class soldier, one needs to pass an ideological assessment. Only those who have a high degree of identification with the Ruins Legion can be eligible to join. At present, the army of the Ruin Legion has 400 reserve soldiers, 500 second-class soldiers, and 100 first-class soldiers. Considering the small number of first-class soldiers, Qinyuan basically organized these people into infantry units under Jinshan's suggestion. The infantry squad of the Ruin Legion is equipped with 10 people as standard, including 3 reserve soldiers, who are responsible for logistics and filling the vacancy when others are killed. 5-6 second-class soldiers are the backbone of the squad, 1-2 first-class soldiers. If equipped with power armor, then there is only 1 first class. If equipped with other weapons, then there are 2 privates. There are currently 2 main types of other weapons equipped for privates. One is the burst shotgun, and the other is the Academy's experimental weapon, the 18 plasma rifle. The secondary weapon is an M-500 modified revolver equipped with explosive bullets or a Glock-86 plasma pistol, usually a burst shotgun with a Glock-86 plasma pistol or an 18 plasma rifle equipped with an M-500 modified revolver. There are 2 options for pistols. Now the Legion of Ruins has formed a total of 60 infantry squads, with 2 battalion-level establishments, but none of them are full. The other soldiers serve as reserves, and there is also a power armor platoon composed of 20 privates, all of whom are equipped with T-60 of power armor. And the current construction of armored forces has also initially achieved results. After the manufacturing center was upgraded to level 4, the subsidiary manufacturing station has also become a level 3 production line, and Qinyuan is also mass-producing tick tanks. At present, there are 20 tick tanks in the Legion of Ruins, plus the previously produced T-72 tanks and AMX-10P infantry fighting vehicles. The total number of tanks has reached more than 40. There are also some attack motorcycles. This kind of motorcycle equipped with rockets is extremely fast, and it is equipped with 8 rockets, which can provide a certain degree of fire support. Chunyuan also built 20 for scouting. And other vehicles including trucks and jeeps are gradually increasing. However, what restricts the development of armored forces is still the problem of the production line. Because reverse engineering requires 50 products, and 50 tanks is not a small number, so Chunyuan is also saving up vigorously. But his primary target is not the TIC tank, but the reverse engineering of Humvee military jeeps and military trucks. This is a suggestion given by Jin Shan, who is very familiar with the military, compared to the tanks that attract attention on the front line of the battlefield. Jeeps and trucks are the core of an army's transportation, or in other words, blood vessels. As for the artillery unit, because there is no suitable equipment, the main force is still the LG-01 light howitzer, but this kind of light howitzer with a caliber of only 105 mm can do very limited things. The opponent's self-propelled artillery failed to catch it. But think about it, if the self-propelled artillery is so easy to be caught, then unless the opponent is all idiots. In terms of the Air Force, Chunyuan does not have a license for the Asuka helicopter, because he can't take care of it now, and there are only 3 miles 24 Hind helicopters that were manufactured when they were used to test the NE beta parasite. However, 8 Avenue 49 Wasp combat helicopters have been built during this period, and their combat effectiveness has initially formed. All these vehicles are driven by second-generation synthetic humans, and Chunyuan is also training his own drivers, but it will take some time, and it won't be something that can be completed in a month. In addition to actively preparing for battle at home, Chunyuan is also actively taking action in the world of Resident Evil to expand his arsenal. On the edge of the hot desert in Central Africa, a column of smoke and dust is speeding across the desert. And in the center of the smoke, there are 5 TIC tanks. However, these TIC tanks have changed from Nod's original red and black painting to a desert-specific tan camouflage. And an MATV all-terrain anti-mine off-road vehicle was driving at the front of the tank convoy. On the vehicle, Looper was wearing sunglasses and a black vest, looking tough and capable. But the driver was a little surprised. It was a forest fire. Looper cast a glance at Lin Huo, and said flatly, "Didn't you say you were going to your world to find a weapon for Yi? I've found it, but something happened over there, so I can't get it for now. So, I came to see you," Lin Huo said while reaching out to stroke the back of Looper's hand. Looper grabbed his wrist with his backhand and squeezed it hard. Lin Huo let out a cry of pain, almost missed the steering wheel, and the off-road vehicle ran a few S-shapes on the road before it stabilized. "You know, I don't like these," Rupier said flatly. "Then what do you like?" Lin Huo continued to drive as if nothing had happened, but there was a bruise on his wrist. "I don't know." Looper snorted coldly, but took out a bottle of spray and sprayed Lin Huo's wrist twice. For a wolf mother who has lived in the military for a long time and is like steel, this is already a rare kindness. Lin Huo changed the subject and asked, "By the way, where are we going? Who are we going to fight with 5 tanks? We've come so far, so you should be able to tell me. It's not about hitting anyone, it's about selling it. Sell. Sell our most advanced tanks to African warlords. Do you know what these tanks mean to the world? That's why we chose Africa, because some things can only be done through them, and Boss Yan can't get them through other means." Looper replied. "Too hasty." Lin Huo shook his head. "I heard from Boss Yan that you gave the Tiberium mine to a great magician. Is this reckless?" The corners of Lin Huo's mouth turned up slightly. "I'm just bringing some changes to that world, and it looks like it's about to start. Otherwise, why do you think I dare not go over and get that weapon?" Rupier didn't speak anymore. The convoy started to turn and entered a barracks in the desert. "Thank you for the 10,000 starting coins rewarded by Shiliang. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 498. 49 to Investment Politics. This camp is already full of chills, tanks and jeeps are ready to go, and a large number of black soldiers are gathering in it. However, the visit of the 5 tick tanks seemed extremely abrupt, especially in such a barracks that was in a state of combat readiness. Facing the 5 foreign tanks, it was almost certain that they would not have a good face. Wait a minute. What are you doing here? Stop. Don't you see that they are in a state of combat readiness? You still drive the tank over here. Lin Huo said quickly. It's okay, I've already taken care of it. Now that the political situation caused by the bombing has changed, it's a good opportunity for us to intervene. Looper said lightly. Sure enough, after seeing these tanks, the surrounding guard patrols did not make any hostile actions. On the contrary, several jeeps approached and advanced side by side with the tick tanks. While looking at the tick tank with eyes full of novelty, the black soldiers in the car cheered loudly and shot the sky with AK-47 to express their excitement. The convoy entered the barracks directly, and Rupier's old acquaintance, General Andrew, was already waiting at the door. Seeing 5 tick tanks that had never been seen before, but with a sci-fi atmosphere, General Andrew couldn't help but grin from ear to ear. He even ran forward to open the car door for Looper, and said enthusiastically, "Ha ha ha ha. You really did not break your promise, Rupier. Are these tanks a gift from you?" Rupier jumped out of the car and said, "This is just the beginning, General Andrew. With our support, you can get more things." "Oh. But these tanks do look different, but that doesn't mean they have real powerful combat capabilities." General Andrew seemed to be bargaining. However, Looper answered irrelevantly, and said to himself, "The arms market in this world seems to be unscrupulous, but in fact it still follows some rules. For example, although you have a very deep relationship with France, but in essence, the French still regard you as their sphere of influence. If you want truly advanced weapons and equipment, it is impossible for you to get them from the French." General Andrew laughed and said, "That's why I like you, Ms. Looper. Thanks to you, we can also get some good equipment from France. But that's all. That's all I can do. Even with my help, you are no more than a powerful regional power. But these are things that can make you go further." Looper patted his back, said the armor of the tick tank. "No problem, if you try it, it doesn't matter." General Andrew was still smiling. "Anyway, you provide the tank, and you prepare the driver, fuel, and ammunition yourself. Money, if the things are good, then it is definitely not a problem. We don't need money. What we need is that you can go further. And these are our investments for you." Looper said lightly. "What do you mean?" Andrew asked calmly. "Cadazuo is not peaceful recently, is he? I can help you repel his harassment, and then you will accumulate more capital. Then what? You know, whether it is France or the United States, they will have reservations when it comes to arms sales of bombs, and the prices they will give are very high. But, except for one country. The prices of the weapons they export are fair, it is simple and durable, and may be lacking in some cutting-edge technologies, but it is enough for us. The most important thing is that they don't have so many estimates for selling weapons, as long as they have enough money. Many things cannot be bought from Europe and the United States. From them, there is no problem. Note 1. What? Ms. Looper, have you changed your family? Are you not following your motherland, France? General Andrew said. I'm just talking about business. I hope that through you, I can do business with Yan country and buy their things. Looper said. Then this is what you paid me? How many tanks? Hee, you can keep half of what we bought. Looper said with a smile, what I need now is please -45 self-propelled artillery, Type 63 rocket launcher, a -100 long-range rocket launcher and precision machine tools. These things you can only buy it from Yan Kingdom, the United States and France will not sell it to you. General Andrew said seriously, you have to know that our volcanic army is only a local faction, including my father, and the public identity is still only a military commander of the bombing government. We are not qualified to talk to Yanguo. Weapons were exported, and because the current government has resumed diplomatic relations with 4V, has it broken diplomatic relations with Yanguo? Looper sneered, even from the standpoint of France, this is an idiot's behavior. But it doesn't matter, as far as I know, Ka the colonel has been occupying your Azu region, and has been harassing near Shilda recently. I will help you recover Azu, so that you have enough capital to influence the political situation in your country. Andrew suddenly changed his color. You mean, you want us to lead this country? For now, it's enough to have enough influence to buy weapons from the Yan Kingdom. Looper waved his hand. As long as you can express enough strength and will to stick to a Yan Kingdom, then the Yan Kingdom will find you. A fierce light flashed from the corner of General Andrew's eyes. Sure duh. Yes, I will let my father fight for this opportunity. Then, let's see how far you can do it. 5 tanks are enough. Looper smiled lightly. The Ayazu area is an area in the northern part of the city, located on the Tibeska Plain. Since the 1970s, Cardazuo has occupied this bomb territory for a long time and wanted to interfere in the bombed political situation. After that, it was reported that Cardazuo cooperated with Sanli and Company in Africa, giving them a stronger financial supply and military strength. With the support of the Sanli and Company, Cardazuo's elite troops often attacked from all over the Ayazu area, harassing the bomb towns. This also led to the civil war that had long ended in the original world and continued to this day. Shirda is a small town located in the northern Bilma Desert. At this time, this small town that was originally inland was occupied by hundreds of Libyan troops. Several jeeps were speeding through the streets of Shilda, dragging a person behind the jeeps. This person was bloody while being dragged, like a blood-stained rag. The Libyan soldier on the jeep shot madly at the sky with an AK-47 and shouted with a loud smile, "Did you see that? Untouchables. This is your fate. You are destined to be just a bunch of ants. Even licking us the shoes are all thanks to our gifts. Ha 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 ha. Surrender. Hand over your food and money. We only accept US dollars and francs, ha 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 ha." The invading Libyan soldiers cheered happily while driving jeeps to kill wantonly in the town. Rows of local residents of Shilda were driven out of their houses by the soldiers. Under the threat of AK-47, they handed over all their valuables. Even so, the invaders were still not satisfied, and often beat and scolded the civilians because they were not satisfied with the amount of property handed over. Unarmed civilians can only swallow their anger. They have no intention of resisting. Looking up at the T-72 main battle tank parked in the town square, and the dozens of upright lizards with a height of more than 2 meters Hunter Alpha, they dared not speak out. However, at this moment of despair, suddenly a shell roared in, killing on top of a 3-story building by the side of the road. Boom. Note 1, the rabbits are impatient and really sell everything, even the kind that Dongfeng Express dares to sell. Although it is not the most advanced model, the rabbits are still super black-bellied. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 499. 493 Generation Difference. Boom! The violent explosion destroyed the 3-story house. Fortunately, all the residents here were driven out by the Libyans, or else a few more lives would have been handed over here. Almost at the same time as the explosion sounded, those Libyan soldiers roared loudly, "There are enemies. It's those guys who don't know how to live or die. Get rid of them." The tanks on the square immediately started their engines, and at the same time, the soldiers screamed and jumped onto the pickup trucks, set up the heavy machine guns on the gun mounts, and rushed out of the town. Boom! There was another loud bang. This time it exploded on the road at the entrance of the village, but this time there was not much explosion, it was an armor-piercing bomb. Although the enemy's situation could not be seen clearly under the dust of the desert, the experienced Libyan soldiers immediately judged it, and they shouted, "It's a tank! It's a tank!" Several pickup trucks immediately outflanked the two sides, and the soldiers in the vehicles carried RPG-7 rocket launchers without any fear. However, there was another cannon, and this time it finally hit the target. Boom! Boom! An EE-9 Cascavel Mk-2 reconnaissance vehicle that had just driven out of the intersection of the town was instantly penetrated by a shell, and violently exploded, and the entire armored vehicle was surrounded by flames. Immediately afterwards, there was another explosion. It was the flame that detonated the ammunition, and the H-90 turret equipped with a 90mm cannon was immediately thrown high. Lost an armored vehicle, but didn't even touch the opponent's figure. There is no doubt that this shows that the opponent's fire control system and targeting elements are far more advanced than here. The Libyan soldiers greeted loudly, and rushed out to shoot wildly in the direction of the shells, and the first few pickup trucks that rushed out finally saw the intruder. There are 5 strangely shaped tanks. The chassis of these 5 tanks is extremely low, and there is a pair of huge and sharp metal claws in front. The turret is small, located in front of the car body, and what is different is that the right side of the turret is a 90mm caliber artillery, while the left side is a 6-barreled machine gun. This completely different manufacturing style from this world stunned those soldiers. However, just as they were stunned, the turret of one of the tanks began to rotate, and before it was even fully rotated, the 6-barreled machine gun on the left side of the turret began to fire. Hey, the dense bullets plowed out a cloud of smoke on the ground, and then hit the pickup truck. Boom! Countless bullets instantly tore up the pickup truck, the fuel tank exploded, and the violent explosion sent the soldiers on board flying more than 10 meters high. Get rid of these monsters! Seeing the death of their companions, the remaining pickup trucks were startled and angry. They cursed loudly while asking the driver to speed up and outflank them. Da-da-da-da. The pickup truck circled quickly to prevent being targeted by the tank, and the gunner on the vehicle also fired wildly with heavy machine guns. But this 12.7mm caliber heavy machine gun didn't even leave a scratch on the tank armor. And in the terrified eyes of these soldiers, the turrets of these tanks began to rotate with unimaginable flexibility and speed, and they could easily keep up with the angle of the pickup truck. The 6-barreled machine gun fired again. Boom! Another pickup truck destroyed. Almost at the same time, boom! 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 Several RPG-7 rockets exploded on the tank. Oh! Several black soldiers cheered as if venting. But soon their cheers froze, and their expressions gradually became extremely frightened as the gunpowder smoke gradually dissipated. 5 unscathed tanks were still advancing rapidly. Nothing works. Fear finally seized the hearts of these soldiers, and they began to turn and run, shouting loudly. But when turning around, those monster-like tanks kept firing, and the 6-barreled machine guns fired continuously, blowing up the pickup truck into balls of fire. At the same time, 5 tick tanks are still advancing rapidly. Even in a desert environment, the speed of this tank exceeds 60 km per hour. It only took a few minutes to get close to the town of Sherda, and came into direct contact with Libya's armored troops. I only saw 8 T-72M main battle tanks rushing directly under the guard of 14 T-62 medium tanks. And there are more than a dozen armored vehicles behind, including EE-9 wheeled armored vehicles equipped with 90mm anti-tank guns, and some BMP-1 infantry fighting vehicles. In addition, more than 20 pickup trucks are outflanking the 2 wings, and hundreds of infantrymen are advancing with RPG-7 and AK-47 in cooperation with the armored forces. Although the establishment of the Libyan army is not standard, it is basically the configuration of two armored companies. However, in the face of the Libyan army with an absolutely superior force, the 5 Tik tanks were not afraid at all and continued to advance. The frontmost Tik tank advanced while aiming, and then the 90mm gun on the right side of the turret spewed out a burst of fire. Boom! At a distance of nearly 1 kilometer, a T-62 tank of the Libyan army was accurately hit, and the shells directly pierced the T-62 with terrible penetration, and the armor-piercing bullets made of rare alloys unexpectedly it came out from the tail of the T-62. An explosion followed. But at this time, Libya's army could no longer care about fear, and they fired back at full speed while advancing at full speed. Boom! 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 When a large number of shells fell around the Tik tank, only one shell hit, but was bounced off without any suspense, leaving no other damage on the front armor of the Tik tank except for a scratch. On the other hand, the Tik tanks began to adjust their formation, and at the same time they kept firing. Another T-72M tank and 2 T-62 tanks were destroyed. The opponent's firepower doesn't look like it only has a 90mm caliber. Even the armor of the T-72M tank is like paper in front of this rapid-fire gun. The soldiers of the Libyan army have gone crazy. They keep moving forward with red eyes and keep firing. The dense shells hit the past, although the accuracy was not very good, but the momentum was huge. For a while, the Tik tank continued to explode, and even the ground seemed to be turned over. However, in the horrified eyes of these Libyan soldiers, the 5 Tik tanks stopped suddenly, and then the tank's suspension device started to operate, tilting the entire tank forward. The alloy claws in front began to flip rapidly, a large amount of sand was dug out, and then the tank actually drove into the dug hole and stood upright. At the same time, the small front turret of the tank began to move, and was finally mounted on the rear of the tank. These tanks actually half buried themselves and became 5 turrets. Before the Libyan soldiers were amazed, 5 Tik tanks turned into turrets opened fire. Boom! 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 Hey, the 90mm speed electric heat gun and the 6-barreled machine gun immediately poured out powerful firepower. Boom! 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 Several more tanks and armored vehicles were destroyed. And Libya is fighting back with all their strength, but the result is extremely frightening. No matter how they attack, neither the 125mm gun of the T-72M nor the 115mm smoothbore gun of the T-62 can penetrate the frontal armor of the Tik tank. Libya does not have the ability to equip their tanks with tungsten core armor-piercing projectiles or even depleted uranium projectiles. Whether it is the main gun or the artillery shells, there is at least 2 generations behind the Tik tanks. What is that? Is it still called a tank? Can't penetrate. Our shells can't penetrate. Rush up. Get close and hit. Ah, boom. Company commander. Company commander. Although they were still charging, the armored soldiers of Libya had already fallen into panic and despair. For a while, they didn't even know whether they should continue to advance or retreat to escape. They just kept firing subconsciously. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingda Ren. Chapter 500. 494 Strange Message. Boom. Boom. The explosions of tanks and armored vehicles being destroyed continued to sound on the battlefield, accompanied by the endless screams and exclamations. On the desert outside the town of Sharda, the wreckage of tanks and armored vehicles was still burning, and corpses lay scattered on the ground. Most of these bodies were shot in the back, and they were shot while fleeing. Just as Libya's armored forces were completely torn apart by just 5 Tik tanks, dozens of huge figures finally rushed up from the inside of the town. Nearly 2 meters tall, with a strong body and covered with green scales, it looks like a huge upright lizard. Impressively, T-virus B.O.W, Hunter Alpha. These B.O.Ws rushed towards the temporary positions built by the tick tanks at an extremely fast speed. Seeing that the B.O.Ws supported by these triple companies were finally dispatched, the black Libyan soldiers who were already on the verge of collapse finally had their last a little hope. They have seen it before. These B.O.Ws are not afraid of 7.62 mm caliber machine guns at all, but large caliber artillery is difficult to hit. Kill them. Kill those steel monsters. A black soldier raised his AK-47 and cheered loudly. However, in the next second, countless bullets slanted from 5 directions at the same time, like 5 terrifying fire dragons. These dozens of Hunter Alpha were instantly smashed into countless pieces in the rain of bullets. Even the soldier who was cheering just now was also affected, and the bullet rain swept away, leaving him with only 2 legs still in place, and the rest of his body had been smashed to pieces. So why do those idiots think that Predator Alpha can fight tanks? Looper looked through the binoculars at the battlefield that was turning into a massacre, and said to himself, "Do you think that small caliber bullets can't penetrate Predator Alpha's skin?" A joke. General Andrew was also in a jeep next to him, observing the battlefield with binoculars. He was already dumbfounded at this time. The scene in front of him of these 5 tanks completely torturing at least 2 armored companies made him feel extremely shocked. The artillery of this tank, why, it is only 90 mm. He was so dumbfounded that he couldn't even speak clearly. The electric heat gun, plus the tungsten alloy armor-piercing projectile, the initial velocity of the projectile exceeds 2,000 meters per second. Do you think the T-72 can handle it? General Andrew suddenly changed his expression. What are you talking about? Electric heat guns. This kind of weapon has just begun to be used in the United States, and it has not yet reached the level of large-scale deployment. Why do you go to Yangguo to buy equipment if you have such technology? Don't worry about our affairs. In short, what do you think of what I gave you? Do you have confidence in repelling Katazuo and taking back the Aizu area? Looper asked back. Cold sweat began to flow from General Andrew's forehead, and he said while wiping the sweat, "If there are more tanks of this kind, it will be enough, enough." In the past, he still had some superiority and pride as a warlord in front of Rupier, but now, when this almost invincible tank appeared in front of him, he realized that he was wrong. The huge shadow behind Looper may be more terrifying than he imagined. Maybe. General Andrew took a careful look at Looper, and thought to himself, maybe, she has really joined the Yan Kingdom. It is one of the representatives of Yan State who reached out to us. Only in this way can we explain this terrible tank, and why they have to buy things from Yan State through me even though their technology is so advanced, and what they buy is more expensive. Give me half. In fact, these things are simply to support me. He thought he had reached the most reasonable conclusion, and felt much more at ease in his heart, so he asked, "Is there a way to defeat this tick tank?" General Andrew swears that he has never seen a more terrifying tank than this one, even on TV. The advanced electric heat gun with a caliber of 90 mm is enough to pierce the T-72's armor like a piece of paper. Another point that cannot be ignored is the terrifying defense power. The armor of the tick tank, at a distance of less than 1,000 meters, even the 125 mm main gun of the T-72M tank cannot penetrate. He doesn't know of any other tank that can do that. Even if there is, it can only be achieved with the assistance of explosive reactive armor, and the tick tank directly relies on armor to resist. Then the material and formula of this armor definitely surpassed all countries now. He really doesn't know any other tanks that can defeat them. Lin Huo, who had been silent by the side, added this time, "In our actual combat exercises, The T-72M tank equipped with tungsten core armor-piercing projectiles needs to be within 500 meters to penetrate the frontal armor of the TIC tank. And the 90mm caliber electric heat gun of the TIC tank can penetrate the frontal armor of the T-72M at a distance of 2,000 meters. You can judge for yourself based on this data. As they were chatting, on the other side of the battlefield, Libya's army had completely collapsed, and even the drivers on the tanks climbed out of the iron coffin through the hatch and ran wildly. General Andrew yelled a few words on the radio, only to see more than a dozen pickup trucks with heavy machine guns loaded with black soldiers holding AK-47 roaring towards the direction of Shulda. In other words, pickup trucks, AK-47s and RPG-7s are the standard equipment for fighting in these poor African countries. Some places with a slightly better economy can also add Type 62 rocket launchers. The fate of those soldiers who escaped was already doomed, and it was a luxury to wish for a happy death. After recapturing Shurda, Andrew asked people to do a little inventory. Thanks to the hasty escape of the Libyan soldiers, they actually seized a large number of abandoned tanks. Among them are 3 T-72 tanks, 7 T-62 tanks, and 11 other armored vehicles. It is a bumper harvest. This also shows how deterrent the TIC tank is. General Andrew calmed down. Although the TIC tank was so powerful that it was scary, it was still on his side. Thinking of this, he became excited and said with a big smile, "Where are the drivers of these tanks? Ha 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 ha. I want to give each of them a medal." Lin Huo said lightly, "Forget it, you don't need to worry about the driver. Just do your own thing." I understand. I will report the battle situation here to my father and let him work hard in the political arena. Try to get closer to Yan Kingdom, and then we will contact there in private. If the officials above won't stop us, then I will take my place. General Andrew's eyes were fierce. This is the best. I don't care what you want to do. We will send a mercenary to help you soon. But, I want to see what I want within a month. Looper said. The Type 62 rocket launcher is easy. Others include -45 self-propelled artillery, a -100 long-range rocket launcher and precision machine tools. I will prepare them within a month. General Andrew quickly agreed. At the same time, in the world of Command and Conquer, the Nuwa base, Chen was surrounded by an extremely strange scene. There was nothing around him but nothing. It's just that in this incomparably dark void, there are streams of green light like morning mist circulating, which look like the aurora magnified countless times, extremely gorgeous. 5 huge human silhouettes stood in the void at this moment, surrounding him. These 5 humanoid silhouettes only have very vague heads, bodies, and limbs, and no details can be seen except for a pair of eyes emitting green light. Their bodies are so huge that they can even reach hundreds of kilometers or even thousands of kilometers, so that Chen naked eyes can't tell the distance between himself and them. At this moment, Chen also looked at them strangely. He wanted to know why these very powerful existences brought him here. "You have our blood, descendants," one of the shadows suddenly spoke, and to be precise, its voice directly reached Chen mind. "Descendants? You say I am your descendants? Then who are you?" Chen asked immediately. "Sublimation. It's our ultimate goal." Another shadow said. "Beyond matter. Beyond dimensions," continued the third shadow. "But we failed," said the fourth shadow. "Betrayal. Shameful betrayal," roared the fifth shadow. "Who are you?" Chen asked loudly. "Skrin. Skrin. Skrin people." Chen turned pale with shock. "Then who betrayed you?" "Skrin." Chen frowned. "What do you mean? You betrayed yourself? You need to walk the path of ascension. Descendants. Then, we can get our remaining heritage. Rebuild our civilization. The key to ascension will be delivered soon. Find it. Decipher it. Then. Sublimation, the five shadows said at the same time. What key? What sublimation? What am I? What is Yi? Chenyuyan asked loudly, but the shadows were silent. Chenyuyan began to feel a little irritated. What he felt the most unacceptable to him was the meaning of these shadows. It seemed that he was a psychic, not a human from the earth. What a joke. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 501. 495 Make up your mind. Speak clearly for me. Chenyuyan roared at the five shadows, but then everything around him disappeared, and he opened his eyes. It was still the familiar room, in the Nuwa base. He sat up from the bed and found himself drenched in cold sweat. He raised his hands and looked in front of his face, but he didn't find anything abnormal. But there is an extra set of messages in my mind. Is it a coordinate? What do those shadows mean? In this way, similar to dreaming, what exactly do you want to tell yourself? What is the way of ascension? Why am I going this route? And also said that I am a scren? Is it funny? Laozi traveled from the previous life to this life, and he was human from beginning to end. Although the physique shown now is indeed special, but I never regard myself as an alien. Chenyuyan always believed that his special physique had something to do with the process of being studied in the Nuwa base before, and they must have transformed himself. Forget about these things, anyway, whatever you do, what way of sublimation, what key, none of my business. Why should I follow the path you prescribed for me? Chenyuyan thought viciously in his heart. However, at this time, the door suddenly opened, and two figures walked in. It's Yi, and behind her is Wenwen, who is fine and doesn't like to go out. This is something new. Dad, I seem to feel something different. Yi said. I heard it too, it's a call. Wenwen also added from the side. Chenyuyan's expression changed, and he hurriedly said, What do you feel? Yi shook his head and said, I don't know, but it seems to be something very important. I can't see what it is, I just have a feeling. Me too. Wenwen said. Chenyuyan's expression darkened, he waved to his two daughters and said, Go to the control center. The three of them came all the way to the control center of the Nuwa base, and Chenyuyan said loudly, The Red Queen. Come out. Master, I've been here, Master. The holographic projection of the Red Queen appeared. I have a set of coordinates here, you can immediately interpret where it is. After Chenyuyan finished speaking, he said the coordinates. Master, this is a set of latitude and longitude coordinates, the area is located at the junction of Texas and New Mexico in the United States. Owner. Queen Hong gave the answer almost immediately, and also displayed the location of the target area on the computer next to her. There is an uninhabited desert. Chenyuyan looked at the screen and was silent for a long time, then said, Call me Lin Huo and Gao Liang's Haizi. There is no doubt that this so-called key is Tacitus. Lin Huo said with certainty. He came back from the world of Resident Evil with Gao Liang's Haizi. Chenyuyan and Gao Liang's Haizi listened attentively. And the location is right, it's in the desert of Texas. Lin Huo continued, in the plot, an alien spaceship will crash into the desert, and GDI will immediately send troops to go there. However, GDI was still a step behind, and Kane had already taken away the contents of the spaceship. And this thing was later run through the entire plot of Command and Conquer thing, Tacitus. Now the question is, why am I getting this message? Is it telling me to cross the Pacific to America to fight GDI and nod head-on and take Tacitus right under their noses? Also, Tacitus, what the hell is Tuo? Chenyuyan asked several questions. What kind of game Tacitus' body is not directly given, but according to judgment, this should be an extremely large screen database. If this database can be fully interpreted, then maybe it will really be like as Kane said, the entire human race will achieve sublimation. Lin Huo said. Does that mean I have to go? Chen Yuyan stroked his chin, he seemed a little out of interest. Because of the existence of the infinite base, he felt that the risks of this operation were not worthwhile compared with the benefits. More importantly, there are already 200 experimenters in this world, and if not all of these experimenters are mentioned, it is very possible that half of them know the plot of Command and Conquer. So it's hard to say what Texas will look like at that time. I think we must go. Lin Huo crossed his hands and said very seriously. I also agree with this point. No matter how risky this trip is, we must go. Gao Liang's Haizi also said. Why? Chen Yuyan asked. Because if you look at the first generation, second generation, and third generation of Command and Conquer games, you will find a very obvious feature. The first generation is basically similar to the normal level of technology in the early 21st century, and the second generation there has already been a leap forward, including electromagnetic levitation weapons, sonic weapons, laser weapons, robots, artificial intelligence, etc. By the third generation, it is basically a sci-fi war. And what I need to tell you is that by the first generation the time span of 3 generations is less than 50 years. Lin Huo said. You mean, this is the technological leap caused by the analysis of Tacitus data? Chen Yuyan said. Yes. If you don't do it, then after GDI and NOD get Tacitus and analyze the data inside, the gap between you and them will only become wider and wider. Don't say that you can scan the ability of technology, no matter how much you can only scan a very small part, but to support a national power, it must be a complete technological system. This is something that your scanning function cannot do. Chen Yuyan deeply believed that the infinite base was indeed very powerful, but it also had limitations. That is, all functions are carried out by relying on him alone, and it is impossible to rely on him alone to build a huge force. But, he sighed and said, but now we are still facing the threat of General Iron Dragon and Torch City. If Tacitus descends on the earth in a month, then in fact, at the same time, the Brotherhood of Nod will rise again. By then at that time, there is no guarantee that Torch City will continue to live in peace with us like this. General Iron Dragon and Torch City are just small problems. Tomoko Gaoliang suddenly said in a very stern voice, they are just regional warlords, and their troops are only small. Compared with real wars, they are like a drop in the ocean. If you just want to be like them, then you can slowly compete with them. But if you want to go further, you must go to the United States. That's right. Lin Huo also said, if you just want to achieve Lu Weiwei's level, then you might as well follow my previous strategy, embroider the scorpion tail flag and wait for Nod to be incorporated. But at that time that's not what you said when you asked me to join forces. Chen Yuyan took a deep breath, nodded heavily, and said, I understand. I'll start making preparations right away. During the time I'm away, I'll leave the City of Ruins to you. The world of Fallout 4 also has some military talents, apart from Knight, who I will definitely take away. Other people can also come to help you. Don't worry, I've already thought about it. Tomoko Gaoliang will continue to manage the world of Resident Evil, and I will stick to the world of Command and Conquer. With Jinshan's help, it will be fine. Lin Huo said, turning to Yi said, ah, yes, Yi, I have a gift for you. Gift? For me? Although the tone was indifferent, Yi's beautiful big eyes were full of curiosity. Well, it should be what you need most right now. Lin Huo flipped his hand and took out something from his personal space. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 502. 496, The Return of the Loyal Dog. All he saw was a long sword in Lin Huo's hand. This long sword is about 1.1 meters long. It is brass-colored all over. It has double-sided blades. One side is actually saw-toothed. Just taking out the sword, Chen felt a wave of heat rushing towards his face. He couldn't help blurting out, "Is this a magic weapon?" "The Sword of Flame Tongue. It is the best sword I can find in the world of Baldur's Gate now." Lin Huo said, "This sword has the power of fire, and it can fight against undead creatures and those with cold attributes. Magical creatures have miraculous effects, and can prevent the opponent from using the recovery ability. To put it bluntly, it burns the wound directly, and no matter how much it recovers, it is useless. The most important thing is that this weapon is not afraid of high temperatures." After finishing speaking, Lin Huo took out a spray gun from his personal space. It seemed that he had been prepared for a long time. He put the spray gun close to the flaming sword and pulled the trigger. A blue flame spewed out from the spray gun immediately, burning the blade of the long sword. It can be seen that even under such a high temperature, the body of the long sword is not even scorched black. The temperature of this butane spray gun is about 1500 degrees, and the temperature of ordinary flames produced by magic below level 2 is only 500 to 700 degrees. Therefore, this sword is enough for you to use now," Lin Huo said. Yi was not afraid of the temperature of the flame tongue sword. Holding the sword in his hand, he couldn't put it down immediately. After waving it in the air, a wave of heat gushed out immediately, and the air could even be seen distorted by the high temperature. Different from the flame sword in the usual sense, the flame power of the flame tongue sword is more restrained, and there is no flame attached to it. On the contrary, there is only high temperature. "I like this gift very much, thank you." Yi thanked Lin Huo lightly. Lin Huo waved his hand and said, "Weapons of this level are not the only items in my world, and they can still be bought from black merchants, so you can use them as you like, and if they break, I'll go find them again." Chen Yuyan was also very happy, because Yi finally had a weapon in his hand. "I've made you worry, Lin Huo. This is what I should do. Because Yi is now the highest personal combat power in our team, this will be very important in future battles with the experimenters," Lin Huo said. Chen Yuyan nodded. At this time, a communication was picked up suddenly. Chen Yuyan said a few words after connecting, and then said, "Already ready? Okay, let him come over." A moment later, the door of the control center was pushed open roughly, and then a burly man walked in. I only saw the faint sound of an electronic motor coming from the body when the big man was moving, which seemed to have been mechanically modified. "Who are you?" Lin Huo asked with a frown. He didn't react hostilely, because the Nuwa base was located in the center of the entire ruined city, and the control center was the center of the center. If there are enemies who can rush here, then nothing else. The entire army of ruins is almost over. "Luo Cheng, you've finally recovered. The operation seems to be a success." Chen Yuyan smiled faintly, and said a long-lost name. "Master, my life has long been yours. This time you gave me a second life, and I am willing to go through fire and water for you," said the big man. It turned out that he was Luo Cheng. When the Junkrat gang attacked the Black Wolf base, all the soldiers who had just joined back at that time flinched. Only Luo Cheng rushed forward bravely. As a result, the armored vehicle he was driving was hit by an incendiary bomb, and his whole body was severely burned, with more than 95% of the burn area. Originally, this guy belonged to the bullying and cowardly type, but after he joined Chen Yuyan's subordinates, he accepted his death with a single muscle, and dared to rush up and fight for his life. At that time, Chen Yuyan admired him, and built a clinic specially for him, and used a lot of first aid spray from Umbrella Company to save his life. Afterwards, he obtained Chi Wei's Believer 2 cyborg prosthesis through scanning, and planned to replace it with Luo Cheng, as a positive model for the whole army. However, Hammer Town in Linhuo was unable to transplant advanced cyborg prosthetics like Believers 2, and Torch City soon came to fight and sealed off the border, so Luo Cheng had to stay in the hospital. Although the burns have healed later, the nerves shriveled by the flames could not recover. He was basically paralyzed, and then lay down until Chen came back from the world of Fallout 4. In fact, although many things happened during this process, he just lay in the hospital for 2 or 3 months. Because Chen went to the world of Fallout 4 for more than half a year, because time is relatively static, so for the world of Command and Conquer, it is just a moment. After returning, Chen did not forget Luo Cheng. He immediately sent him to the world of Fallout 4 and asked the scientists of the academy to treat him. I just didn't know that Luo Cheng, who had finished his treatment, turned out like this. Luo Cheng's originally thin body has now skyrocketed to a height of 1.9 meters, and his muscles are protruding all over his body. He looks not much better than Schwarzenegger. If it wasn't for his appearance, which basically remained unchanged, Chen Yuyan couldn't even believe that this was the same person. How did the scientists of the academy treat you? How did you become like this? Didn't I say I asked them to transplant Believer 2 cyborg prostheses for you? Chen Yuyan asked a little strangely. This is my choice, master. The scientists over there gave me several transformation treatment plans. I compared them. Although the Believer 2 cyborg prosthesis is powerful, its function is too single. And I hope to be able to use it in more. I helped you, master, so I chose the Stalker transformation plan. According to Isaac Carlin, director of the Life Science Department, I am now equivalent to the top Stalker. Luo Cheng replied. Chen Yuyan nodded, patted him on the shoulder with a smile and said, I am very satisfied with your loyalty, Luo Cheng. From now on, you will be the commander of the garrison of the Ruin Legion. I will give you the rank of captain slowly. Mand. But before that, you go to the world of Fallout 4 and fight with the volunteer army to get a good experience. Luo Cheng said, Master, can I be your personal bodyguard? To be honest, you are not enough now. Because the enemy I have to face is currently something you cannot defeat. Therefore, you still need to grow up. Chen Yuyan replied. Yes. Master. I will be so strong that no one dares to approach you. Luo Cheng said firmly. It seems that after the transformation, his strength is stronger and his self-confidence is stronger. Chen Yuyan was in a good mood now, laughed for a while and said, okay, you go around in our ruined city, and then spend more time with your grandma, she is doing well now. Then we will have a military meeting, you will be the chief guard of this meeting. Upon hearing that his grandma was doing well, Luo Cheng's eyes even turned red, and he said loudly, Master, don't worry. I can do well whatever you entrust to me. Chen Yuyan nodded, turned his head and said, Red Empress, call the main core personnel of the Ruin Legion, I want to hold a general military meeting. Master, I understand. Owner. Thank you for the 1000 starting coins rewarded by the assimilation fighters. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 503. 497 Begin preparations. This military meeting that brought together basically all the core members of the Ruin Legion did not last too long, because the general direction of the meeting had actually been determined, leaving only the specific details. Chen Yuyan must go to the desert of Texas, USA, and then find the downed alien spaceship and get the key item, Tacitus. In this process, it will inevitably be obstructed by Nod and GDI. Among them, GDI will definitely be a step slower, because they rushed to the scene after seeing the spacecraft crash. But Kane, the leader of Nod, will almost certainly get the same message, so he'll definitely be there early. Coupled with those experimenters who know the plot, it is even more variable. However, these experimenters can only know that the spacecraft crashed in Texas, the United States, but they don't know the exact location, so for the time being, it can be assumed that they will also take a step back. But the strength of the experimenters must not be underestimated. Because Lin Huo has clearly said that there are Golden Group experimenters in this world. According to inference, the power in the hands of the Gold Group experimenters can at least be equivalent to a regional power. This is very scary, at least it is far from being provoked by the current army of ruins. Surrounded by such powerful enemies, Chen Yuyan is only on the weak side. It is hard to imagine how difficult it is to get what he wants in the middle. The only way now is to give full play to their unique advantages, infinite bases. The candidates who will go to the United States together have also been determined, and Yi is definitely going to go. If you want to face high-level experimenters, then Yi's personal combat power is absolutely the most important. Moreover, Yi's terrible learning ability might be able to learn some strange abilities from those experimenters. And Wenwen stayed behind in the ruined city. On the one hand, she has just been resurrected, and there is still a lot to learn. Moreover, she has also been formatted, with almost zero combat experience, and very little control over her abilities. What is more depressing is that there is a lack of military talents in the ruined army. Chen Yuyan thinks about it, and there are only 3 people who have the ability to command the army to fight. And it is a bit exaggerated for the 3 of them to say that they are generals, because they have never had the experience of commanding a battle with thousands of people, so it can only be said that the dwarfs are superior. The wolf pack team has all been summoned by Chen Yuyan, and they can freely enter and exit the world of Resident Evil and command and conquer, except for Rupier. She has made it clear that she already has plans to retire. After all, she still has a daughter to take care of. On the other hand, Jinshan's combat command ability can only be said to be quite satisfactory, as can be seen from the 2 previous battles when Chen Yuyan attacked Iron Hammer Town and Feng Tao's armored regiment from Torch City later attacked Iron Hammer Town. And compared to his commanding ability, his ability to train troops is a little more prominent. The key is that Jinshan has been following the forest fire for a long time, so it is the best choice for him to stay with the forest fire in the ruined city. So in the end Chen Yuyan could only choose knight. Although according to him, he was only a lieutenant during the Battle of Anchorage before, after all, he has experienced a real war, and now he is the only one who is the best candidate. Besides Yi and Knight, Chen Yuyan also planned to bring ghosts with him. As an agent of the former Soviet Union and a veteran of the Cold War, Ghost's experience is also very useful. In addition, there are also 4 eyes. 4 eyes are responsible for battlefield analysis and communication among wolves, so she can also play a role, right? When going to America this time, the main staff, Chen Yuyan, planned to take these few people with him. It's not appropriate to have too much, the city of ruins is his basic base, and he can't lose it no matter what. Not only that, Chen Yuyan also planned to let Justin Eyre and Preston Garvey go to the ruined city temporarily to help the forest fire together. Justin Eyre is the director of the Academy's synth recycling department and the commander of all of the Academy's military operations, coordinating the synthetic forces in ruined city. And Preston Garvey, as the leader of the volunteer army, also has sufficient leadership skills. After the candidate is determined, it is the preparation work. Chen Yuyan immediately built a Pridewing-class airship manufacturing plant in the airport area marked out in the south of the ruined city, preparing to build a Pridewing-class airship. Only the Pridewing-class airship can cross the Pacific Ocean, and it can carry a lot of equipment. At the same time, the scientists of the Academy were also transferred to the manufacturing plant and began to modify the airship. It is worth mentioning that Madison Lee is also among them. Earlier, she was imprisoned by Chen Yuyan because she tried to split the Academy and incite the Academy to surrender to the Brotherhood of Steel. But later, because the Brotherhood of Steel retreated and surrendered, Chen Yuyan simply let her out and let her take a good look at what the Brotherhood of Steel had become. After seeing the complete Resident Evil world that has not experienced war, Madison Lee's thinking has also changed a lot. Therefore, this modification of the Pridewing class airship is also an opportunity for her to perform her crimes and meritorious deeds. After all, she used to be the director of the Advanced System Department of the college, and her knowledge and ability in this area were also second to none in the college. For the transformation of the airship, Chunyuan just put forward his plan and let them carry it out. But he was with Hank and Drago at this time. Let's get to know each other. This is Hank, my captain. This is Drago, a senior mercenary who is now the military advisor of our legion. Chunyuan introduced each other to the two. Hank didn't wear his iconic gas mask this time, but his expression was still very deep, and he just shook hands with Drago very politely. I'm going to go to Torch City with you two to collect information. Now we don't know anything about the current situation of Torch City. It's very dangerous. After the introduction, Chunyuan said straight to the point. Actually, you don't have to go in person. If this Mr. Drago is familiar with the local area, the two of us are enough. Hank said in a low voice. Chunyuan shook his head and said, I have to go here. I'm very good at dealing with people of all schools, and there are some things that you have to see with your own eyes to be sure. Hank knew Chunyuan's ability, so he didn't insist, nodded, and said, that's fine, but according to the plan we have to set off within half a month, so we only have 3 days at most to go to Torch City this time. 3 days are enough. I don't need to dig for more in-depth information, it's enough to confirm some things. Chunyuan replied. Thank you for the 100 starting coins rewarded under the White Moon. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 504. 498 The Landscape of the World. A somewhat dilapidated Hummer Jeep drove out of the secret passage cleared by the worker ant drone in the ruined area south of the ruined city, and drove in a large circle towards the west of the ruined city. The driver is Drago. This half-human, half-mechanical mercenary loves vehicles very much, and his driving skills are also excellent. Although the road is bumpy and full of bumps, his driving is safe, and there is absolutely no danger of overturning. Hank sat in the passenger seat, wearing a trench coat common to scavengers, with some personally sewn pockets and patches. This dress was found in the world of Fallout 4, and it fits perfectly in the yellow zone of the world of Command and Conquer, without any sense of disobedience. Chunyuan was sitting alone in the back seat, and he was wearing the same set of scavenger's clothes. However, the old clothes didn't affect his mood. Now he leaned back casually, looking at the surrounding scene lazily. Speaking of which, this was the first time he came outside the ruined city and looked at the scenery outside. Everywhere he passed was foggy, and the light yellow mist filled almost every corner of the air, making people feel extremely depressed. Because they have already left the city, there are not many buildings that can be seen. Even if there are, most of them are villages or industrial areas before the war, and most of them have been abandoned and destroyed. Unlike the situation in the ruined city where there are tiberium crystals scattered everywhere, the existence of crystals is basically invisible in this area outside, and some are just dilapidated. Only then did Chunyuan understand why the ruined city is such a place where nothing shits a bird, because the meteorites rich in tiberium crystals that fell before have polluted the entire city. That's why the 3 villages on the other side of Xingfu village were so isolated from the outside world. That's why Lin Huo, who wanted to fight to the end, chose to build Iron Hammer Town on the edge of the ruined city. As the jeep continued to move forward, some small settlements could be seen occasionally. Most of these settlements are built on the basis of some relatively intact buildings in front of the station. The small ones have only 2 or 3 buildings, and the large ones have more than 10 buildings. Moreover, unlike the world of radiation, the settlements in this world are much more orderly, and traces of large-scale mechanical processing can be clearly seen. Whether it is the restoration of damaged buildings, the leveling of roads, or the complete fence and barbed wire, everything is very neat. In addition, there are some vehicles and even armored vehicles parked in many settlements. On the road, I could occasionally see some pickup trucks coming and going, most of which were loaded with goods, and some heavily armed personnel in the vehicles scanned Chinhuyan's jeep with vigilant eyes. After driving forward for more than 20 minutes, the jeep drove onto a wide road. Although this asphalt road has been dilapidated and in disrepair for a long time, and there are many potholes in many places, in general, there are no obstacles on the road and it is unimpeded. There are no building debris and trees in this area, and the view is good. From a distance, Chinhuyan saw a large expanse of tiberium crystals, and a flowering tree in the middle of the crystals was constantly swallowing green tiberium spores. A tiberium mining vehicle was busy inside, and a pair of large pincers at the front kept scooping up tiberium crystals from the ground, and then put them into the huge jar behind it. Although this mine is completely different from the mine in the ruined city, the difference between a small room and a football field, but the existence of tiberium mining vehicles means that there are already large-scale forces around. Sure enough, not long after, the jeep drove past a large-scale settlement. Somewhat uniquely, this settlement is made up of a large number of tents. These tents look very strong, with a metal pillar in the middle and 6 rooms extending out like petals around them. Drago glanced back at Chinhuyan while driving, and explained, "This is the refugee camp airdropped by GDI to the Yellow Zone. They used transport planes to concentrate and airdrop this kind of tent and some daily necessities in one area, while the wandering refugees they often take these tents and supplies as their own, and over time, such a settlement will be formed. This process can't be peaceful, right? Bleeding to death should be the main theme in the establishment of this kind of airdropped refugee camp." Chinhuyan asked flatly. "But someone will survive, isn't it?" Drago said meaningfully. Chinhuyan didn't answer, but was silent for a while, and said, "How likely are we to absorb these small settlements? Unless you establish a strong regional hegemony, don't let them go with you. Most of these small settlements are hog meat, diehards, and killing them is not only troublesome but not very rewarding." Drago said. "What about Torch City? Torch City can't control it, and they don't want to control it." Drago snorted coldly. "Generally, large urban strongholds like Torch City basically have their own industrial, agricultural and social systems. These small settlements are very important to them. It's dispensable, or in other words, basically there's no time to talk to them." "So, what about the Brotherhood of Nod?" Hank, who had been silent all this time, suddenly asked. "Natural thing." This time, even Drago fell silent. After about a minute, he said in a deep and slow voice, "You asked a good question," but he had no intention of continuing. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. There was a burst of gunfire from the direction of the large settlement, and only a jeep was seen driving towards the side and stopped at a distance of 3,400 meters. The people in the car were shooting towards the sky with assault rifles, but they were obviously coming in this direction. "Don't pay attention to them, they are here to ask if we join the gang. After all, we still have a car. But it doesn't matter, they are just a routine." Drago said. Chinhuyan nodded, took the MK-19 automatic grenade launcher he had just taken out to his personal space, lit a cigarette for himself by the way, and threw the pack of cigarettes to Hank. This magic-like operation of making something out of nothing and nothing out of nothing made Drago look in the rearview mirror a few more times, but he also wisely didn't ask any more questions, and just said, "We are approaching the range of Torch City, there should be half an hour. This place is different from the wasteland environment I imagined." Chinhuyan said. While he was talking, the jeep that drove out from the large settlement just now saw that there was no intention to stop here, and turned back by itself. But this little episode also shows one thing: these settlements are not short of bullets first, and secondly, they are not short of fuel, which is fundamentally different from the world of radiation. That's why he said such a sentence. The yellow zone has never been a wasteland, it's just a place where opportunities and killing coexist. As for the description of the wasteland, it belongs to the red zone, that hellish place. Drago replied. The surrounding things began to increase, and the buildings began to become denser. Drago drove around a town that was much larger than the previous Hammer Town, and he seemed very familiar with this area. And Chunyuan also began to narrow his eyes, he understood that the scope of Torch City has arrived. Thank you for the 5,600 starting coins rewarded by the God of Science. This reader friend is about to enter the military career and cannot read books for half a year. I wish you all the best and look forward to your return.